Welcome back to The Edge, Track 3 on trading psychology, or more specifically, what we've outlined as emotional capital. What a lot of people get into in trading is the fact that they latch onto a methodology or strategy, doesn't work for them, so they learn another strategy, another technique, and that doesn't work for them. And at some point, before they cash it in, they say it must be about the psychology. So they invest in books, and they really get into maybe even breathing exercises or some sort of Zen state that they want to be in. And what we often try to convey is, unless psychology is actually knowing what you're doing, it's not the missing piece. So we've outlined through emotional capital a way and a simple kind of a progression that if you've traded for 5 days or 5 years, you're going to kind of relate to the next couple slides. Number one, we're going to explain through a progression of what people go through what emotional capital actually is. And then secondly, we're going to introduce a problem and attach a solution to it to give people an understanding of not only what you go and spend in kind of an invisible way, but how to actually solve it. So these are images and reactions that you'll go through in a specific trade or in a series of trades and maybe throughout your career. And the first one is this smug retail look. And what I mean by a smug retail look is the fact that you shouldn't be happy when a trade goes your way or cheerlead a trade and get kind of condescending towards the market. You're supposed to take money out of the market. So you should have low highs as far as your emotion goes and not really have this look with winners. The second look in here is the grapefruit eyes, is what we like to call it, meaning a trade goes your way and you're long and it's going up, and then wham, it comes right back down to your entry and goes even below. And you're like, this is what we're actually trying to look for every day on charts, where you get a collection of facial expressions like the grapefruit eyes. The next one is that of a revenge trade look, where you go, man, I just missed that trade, that opportunity. If I would have bought it there, it was beautiful. It ran, heatless trade. I'll get them next time. And usually that's getting you upset when you got that look. The next trade isn't going to exactly be a good trade. This next look is that of an adder, someone who buys it at 12, buys it at 10, buys more at 8, buys more at 6. He isn't going to stop buying until it rallies. And at some point, skill turns to hope is the expression or the cliche that we use for that, because it ends up leading to this expression of after you've added too much and that fright, or when it really sets in. And eventually it's going to lead you to this expression of you just simply blew out your account. So let's go over in a simple image what it means to take on a trade and kind of what you go through and what does this emotional capital feel like in an actual trade. So just this simple image, let's say you go short in this example and you get short at a real good spot right up in here, right? And you're going to play this target down in here to cover that short. So you get short inside this circle and the market runs down beautifully for you. Never took any heat, starting to march down to your exit, and you're feeling good. So you place a stop, which should be a buy stop, let's say right in here. So your risk is up top and your reward is down in here. And the market comes down, it gets really close to filling you for a winner, but it doesn't. And it starts to march away from your exit for a winner. So you went from feeling pretty good, taking a heatless trade, having it march your direction and sell off, to not getting filled, but almost getting filled. There's a large amount of anxiety that fills you up, and now this trade actually starts to feel like a loser, even though it's still a winner. It starts to rally up, and it starts to get back now to the place where you entered. And when it gets back to the place you entered, it really feels like a loser because you left money on the table. And this happens, but you're still not wrong. You still have not gotten out yet. And so the market comes down a little bit, and now it's almost ready to stop you out, but not quite. So now you go from feeling good to anxious to mad to really angry that you let a nice winner turn into a loser. But then you start to think, well, this is part of the strategy and I got to let it play out. Well, it doesn't stop you out. It gets close and then runs all the way back and actually fills you in here for a winner. And you feel good again. So you think on paper, wow, this was a nice winner. But in reality, you went on an emotional roller coaster. And that matters. That's, even though it's not hard capital and it doesn't show up on your statement, you had to live through it. And if you go through a lot of this kind of emotion for a lot of your winners, you're not going to want to wake up and do this every day. So there has to be a way to measure not only how hard your winners are, but then also attach a solution to avoid this kind of roller coaster. And so what we'll do is we'll go and we'll reintroduce this slide, right? And talk about the phrase we use a lot called paying for the trade or scaling out. Scaling out is obviously only for those that trade multiple contracts. And we're going to talk in the sizing plan video about how not everybody is wired to trade 50, 100, 200 contracts, but everyone should be wired to trade better than one. We have a saying that goes, if you trade one contract, you're on the team. If you trade more than one contract, you're on the field, because you have so much more flexibility to solve a problem like the emotional capital you just ran through in the previous example. So let's say, again, you got short at the same price up in here, and you're still looking to get filled down in here at that particular target. And the market runs down for you, and instead of waiting to get all out at this line down in here, you actually scale out of some in there and maybe a little bit more in there. So you're covering your short for a winner or taking chips off the table. So then when the market comes back and actually goes against you, you've actually taken profit. So you don't feel as anxious, you don't feel as bad. Market comes all the way down and ends up filling you for the balance at your original exit, but you feel better about the trade because you scaled out. And we phrase it as pay for the trade. That doesn't mean pay for the commission of the trade or any of the fees involved. It means paying for the emotion of the trade. Emotional capital is real, and it exists, and it's a really, really huge part of the psychology. It's not often talked about in books, or it's certainly not going to be solved in breathing exercises. You're going to have to really look at this business and say, you know what, that makes sense. If I trade one contract, sure, I'm on the team and I'm risking real money. But if I could slightly trade bigger than one contract, I'm on the field. And I have the flexibility to address a psychological problem that a breathing exercise is not going to solve, that being in a Zen-like mode is going to solve. So you want to create the team and the community that the Edge here at the Edge we put together, but also the ability to trade multiple contracts and be able to scale out and pay for the trade. So no matter if you're a small, medium, or long time frame trader, you don't have to stay on a roller coaster and spend so much of this emotional capital.